discussed today also happened on Dwadasi. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and then if anybody would like to read, please raise your hands. Okay. Nupur, then Manishika, and then Megha will follow in that order. So please read 5 verses each, starting with Nupur.
From verse 51st, Prabhuji, or 49?
49, please.
Okay. Upon seeing that his own attempt had failed and that the Sudarshan Chakra was moving toward him, Durvasa Muni became very frightened and began to run in all directions to save his life. As the blazing flames of a forest fire pursue a snake, the disk of the Supreme Personality of Godhead began following Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni saw the disk was almost touching his back, and thus he ran very swiftly, desiring to enter a cave of Sumeru mountain. Just to protect himself, Durvasa Muni fled everywhere, in all directions, in the sky, on the surface of the earth, in caves, in the ocean, on different planets of the rulers of the three worlds, and even on the heavenly planets. But wherever he went, he immediately saw following him the unbearable fire of the Sudarshan Chakra. With a fearful heart, Durvasa Muni went here and there seeking shelter. But when he could find no shelter, he finally approached Lord Brahma and said, "O my Lord, O Lord Brahma, kindly protect me from the blazing Sudarshan Chakra sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Lord Brahma said, "At the end of the Dviparadha, when the pastimes of the Lord come to an end, Lord Vishnu, by a flick of his eyebrows, vanquishes the entire universe, including our places of residence. Such personalities as me and Lord Shiva, as well as Daksha, Bhrigu, and similar great saints of which they are the head, and also the rulers of the living entities, the rulers of human society, and the rulers of the demigods, all of us surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, bowing our heads to carry out his orders for the benefit of all living entities."
Manishika Mataji.
When Durvasa, who was greatly afflicted by the blazing fire of the Sudarshan Chakra, was thus refused by Lord Brahma, he tried to take shelter of Lord Shiva, who always resides on his planet known as Kailash. Lord Shiva said, "My dear son, I, Lord Brahma, and the other demigods who rotate within this universe under the misconception of our greatness cannot exhibit any power to compete with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For innumerable universes and their inhabitants come into existence and are annihilated by the simple direction of the Lord. Past, present, and future are known to me, Lord Shiva, Sanat Kumar, Narad, the most revered Lord Brahma, Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Apan Apantaratma. Am I pronouncing it right, Prabhuji? Apantar Apantaratma,
Yeah.
Lord Vyasadev, Devala, Yamaraj, Asuri, Marichi, and many saintly persons headed by him, as well as many others who have achieved perfection. Nonetheless, because we are covered by the illusory energy of the Lord, we cannot understand how expansive that illusory energy is. You should simply approach that Supreme Personality of Godhead to get relief, for this Sudarshan Chakra is intolerable even to us. Go to Lord Vishnu. He will certainly be kind enough to bestow all good fortune upon you. Thereafter, being disappointed even in taking shelter of Lord Shiva, Durvasa Muni went to Vaikuntha Dham, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, resides with his consort, the goddess of fortune.
Thank you, Manishika Mataji. Next, Megha Mataji, would you like to read if you're available? Okay. Vishal Prakash Prabhu.
Oh, sorry, Prabhuji. I was reading. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
yeah, now I can. Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Durvasha Muni, the great mystic, scorched by the heat of the Sudarshan Chakra, fell at the lotus feet of Narayana, his body trembling. He spoke as follows: O infallible, unlimited Lord, protector of the entire universe, you are the only desirable objective of all devotees. I am a great offender, my Lord. Please give me protection. O my Lord, O Supreme Controller, without knowledge of your unlimited prowess, I have offended your most dear devotee. Very kindly save me from the reaction of this offense. You can do everything, for even if a person is fit for going to hell, you can deliver him simply by awakening within his heart the holy name of your Lordship.
Okay, just 1 second here, Megha. So the next, the remaining verses of this chapter, our acharyas have explained that this is directly the words of the Supreme Lord, and it is actually coming from the heart of the Lord, something very, very dear to the Lord. So, Megha, please continue. 3 more verses, and then Vishal Prakash can finish the chapter.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the Brahmana, I am completely under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent. Because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires, I sit only within the course of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. O best of Brahmanas, without saintly persons, for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulences. Since pure devotees give up their homes, wives, children, relatives, riches, and even their lives simply to serve me without any desire for material improvement in this life or in the next, how can I give up such devotees at any time?
Thank you, Megha. Vishal Prakash Prabhu, you can finish the chapter.
Okay. As chaste women bring their gentle husbands under control by service, the pure devotees who are equal to everyone and completely attached to me in the core of their heart bring me under their full control. My devotees who are always satisfied to be engaged in my loving service are not interested even in the 4 principles of liberation: Shalokya, Sarupya, Samipya, and Sharshti, although these are automatically achieved by their service. What then is to be said of such perishable happiness as elevation to the higher planetary systems? The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anything else but them. O Brahmana, let me now advise you for your own protection. Please hear from me. By offending Maharaj Ambarish, you have acted with self envy. Therefore, you should go to him immediately without a moment's delay. One's so called prowess, when employed against the devotee, certainly harms he who employs it. This is the subject, not the object, who is harmed. For a Brahmana, austerity and learning are certainly auspicious, but when acquired by a person who is not gentle, such austerity and learning are most dangerous. O best of the Brahmanas, you should therefore go immediately to King Ambarish, the son of Maharaj Nabhaga. I wish you all good fortune. If you can satisfy Maharaj Ambarish, then there will be peace for you.
Thank you. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, welcome, dear devotees. Thank you all so much for joining today. I've prepared some slides, and so first we'll start by talking about Durvasa Muni. Just one second. Yes. Do you see my slides?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Manishika. So the way I want to approach this particular chapter is, first of all, it's not good versus evil or good versus bad. It's not that Durvas Muni was bad. It's not that he was evil. In fact, Durvas Muni was a very great, exalted sage. He was a mystic yogi. So I would like to start by, first of all, giving a brief overview and then glorifying Durvas Muni first, and then Ambarish Maharaj, and then we'll see their interactions and the Lord's words. So from verse 13 to 28, Nupur Mataji covered how Ambarish Maharaj performed Dharma and Bhakti together. And then from 29 to 41, we saw how Ambarish Maharaj performed a year-long Ekadashi Vrata. Even though it was a year-long Ekadashi Vrata, for the last 3 days, they performed, he and his wife performed Nirjal Ekadashi Vrata. And then on the Dwadasi day is when this particular pastime happened. And as I was mentioning, today is also Dwadasi. So it's very auspicious to hear this pastime on this day. Next, from verses 42 to 48, we see how angry Durvasa Muni attacked Ambarish Maharaj and was attacked by Sudarshan Chakra. And today we read from 49 to 62 how Durvasa Muni sought help from Brahma, Shiva, and ultimately Vishnu. And then the words from 63 to 71 were spoken by the Lord himself. And as our acharyas explain, these are words that are coming from the heart of the Lord, very, very famous verses and very, very precious verses, because we can actually see the heart of the Lord through these verses. And these verses talk about how the Lord glorified the devoted. So with this, let's first discuss. I'll try to make it as interactive as possible. All of us, right from our childhood, have heard of instances of Durvas Muni, and all the instances that we have heard were all on Dwadasi, actually. So does anybody remember, other than this pastime, any other pastime where Durvas Muni comes in?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Kameshwar Prabhu.
Prabhuji, one is with Kunti Mata when he comes and Kunti Mata serves him a lot. So he was very happy with the services given by Kunti Mata and he gives her a boon. That is one pastime.
What is the boon? What is the boon that he gives Kunti Mata?
He gives that whenever you want a child from any demigod, you can just pray them and they will come and give you the child. So this mantra, he gives a mantra. So whenever she needs help from demigods, she can just chant that mantra. Immediately demigod will come and give her a child. That is the I mean, I think that's what I remember. But
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong.
Uh-huh.
That is one. Second one is just during the Vanavasa,
Yes.
he goes to he tests. I mean, Duryodhana actually
Yes.
he made
Sense.
a he made a sudden turn. He asks him to because Durvas Muni is very easy to please him, and at the same time he very easy to get, he easily gets angry. So he serves him a lot, and Duryodhana is being very tactful. He nicely serves him and he pleases him. Then when Durvas Muni asks him a boon, he says that just go to Pandavas. After Draupadi finishes her dinner, then you go or lunch, whatever you go, and then take their atitya with along your sishya. So because Durvas Muni gave him a word, then he follows it. So those two I remember, Prabhu. Maybe others can cover other pastimes.
Yeah. So this pastime is the Akshaya Patra pastime, which Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu has put on the chat also. So thank you, Prabhu. Any other pastime does anybody remember about Durvas Muni? There's one more famous pastime. Anyone else? I'll give you a hint. It's associated with Srimati Radharani. What boon did Srimati Radharani get? And that was also on a Dwadasi. Okay.
It's near Yamuna River, right, bro?
What is near? Oh, there you go. Actually, Sundari Saki got the answer. To cook the best dishes for Krishna. And not just for Krishna, the boon was that whatever dish you cook will taste like nectar, and whoever eats it will have a very long life. That was the boon given to Srimati Radharani. So first of all, he was a great sage, and it is mentioned that he had conquered lust and wealth completely. So he had conquered Kanaka and Kamini completely. So that is why he was a great sage. Even though he had conquered lust and wealth, he had not conquered Pratishta. So it is said that Kanaka, Kamini, and Pratishta should be conquered, but he had completely conquered Kanaka and Kamini, which itself is a huge thing. For someone to have conquered lust and wealth is a huge thing. That's why he's a great sage. Okay. Then he was a great mystic. He was a great mystic. He could fly anywhere to any planet, even to Vaikunta, you know. And in this particular pastime, we hear this particular instance where he goes to Vaikunta, but even though he goes to Vaikunta, he's filled with Kunta. So Vaikunta means a place where there is no anxiety. Vaikunta means no anxiety. But he went to Vaikunta, but he was filled with anxiety. So that was another, because of extreme renunciation, purity, and austerity, he had achieved all these siddhis by which he could fly anywhere to any planet. He could go to the moon planet. He could go to any planet, anytime, anywhere in the universe or anywhere in any of the universes at any time. So many times we tend to think that Durvas Muni is a bad character, but he was actually a very, very great sage and a great mystic. So the three pastimes. So it's so interesting that in every pastime of Durvas Muni, Krishna was directly or indirectly, he intervened directly or indirectly in each of the famous pastimes of Durvas Muni that we know. So I'm just going to discuss three of them. The first one is the blessings given to Srimati Radharani. So once on a Dwadasi day, he was very badly, he wanted to have sweet rice. So Srimati Radharani made the best sweet rice that she could at that time. And then he gave this particular blessing: Radha, may the grains you cook taste sweeter than nectar, and may anyone who eats them be blessed with a lifelong span. So how did Krishna make this happen? Because Krishna inspired him to give this blessing so that Mother Yashoda could reach out to Kirtida in the beginning and to Jatila later on, so that Radharani could cook for Krishna. So that is the first pastime which happened on Dwadashi. The second one is Akshaya Patra, which some of you mentioned. We all know this pastime. I'm not going to go into detail, but the key point here is he was actually sent by Duryodhan. And the third one that we're going to discuss today is the Ambarish Maharaj pastime, which also happened on Dwadashi. And in this particular pastime, he came all of a sudden, actually. He came as an uninvited guest on that particular day, which is a hint that this whole pastime was actually orchestrated by the Lord. So just to glorify Ambarish Maharaj. Okay. So with that, I just want to go to that moment where Durvas Muni, he enters the kingdom of Ambarish Maharaj. So here we see our Durvas Muni wearing cooling glasses. I couldn't find I got from Nupur's slide. So Durvas Muni is now entering the kingdom of Ambarish Maharaj. And so when somebody enters a kingdom, what do they see first? I'll just make it interactive so that it's not boring. So when you enter a kingdom or a place where you want to meet the king and you're entering, so what do you see first? There's so many answers you can give.
Entrance through the gate.
Gate. Uske baad, what else do you see after the gate?
Local area, like how are people living there, like houses, like just urban or rural environment.
Yes. So you start seeing the local citizens, right? You start seeing the citizens, how they're behaving, their actions, their interactions, and so on. So that is the first thing that Durvas Muni sees. So, of course, Durvas Muni was a mystic sage, but now he's entering this place and he's seeing Ambarish Maharaj's citizens first. So the citizens, there is this verse in the 24th verse of this chapter. I'll read the translation. The citizens of the state of Maharaj Ambarish were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the personality of Godhead. Thus, they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. So now our Durvas Muni, he's entered the village. He's seeing all these amazing citizens who are offering obeisances to him, offering respects to him. But he immediately notices that everyone is chanting the glories of the Lord. They're discussing the glories of the Lord amongst themselves. And none of them were aspiring for something like the heavenly planets or liberation or anything like that. They were completely satisfied. So this reminded me of the verse from Bhagavad Gita, the Chaturshloki verse. Machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So what this verse says is, Machita, one whose mind is always thinking of me. Machita. Madgata prana is, these are people who are surrendered completely unto me. Madgata prana, who given their lives to me, surrendered their lives to me. Bodhayanta parasparam. Bodhayanta means they're enlightening one another amongst themselves. Parasparam means amongst one another. Katayanta shamam nityam. They're always discussing my glories. My glories. Katayanta shamam nityam. Always, continuously. Nityam is always, continuously. And what do they get? What is the result? Tushyanti cha, ramanti cha. So tushyanti cha means by doing just this one activity, they're feeling completely satisfied. Tushyanti cha, they're feeling satisfaction. And ramanti cha, they're experiencing joy, delight. So now I want to ask all of you this question. Now, Durvas Muni is a very mystic yogi. He's perfected renunciation. He's an impersonalist, actually, and that is also mentioned in one of the verses. Now, he's walking through this particular kingdom, and he is about to enter while he's walking, what do you think how is he feeling? Like, what is his mindset? You can all share whatever you feel like at this point. Just imagine, put yourself in the shoes of Durvas Muni. Everybody's offering respects unto you. And then how are you feeling right now? You can unmute and speak or put on the chat. Sundari Saki is saying, whom can I curse next?
I think he's
Oh,
happy.
Leka Mataji is saying, how can normal people be so happier than me? Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you. I wish he had got that thought, but I don't think he got that. But anyway, anyone else?
I think he's feeling happy.
He's feeling
Or
happy?
superior, maybe.
He's feeling superior. Why is he feeling superior?
Because so many people are like giving him attention.
Yes, so many people are giving him attention, and also there's something else. Yeah, it's a very valid point that you said. He's feeling superior, he's feeling proud. There is one more reason why he's feeling proud. One is, of course, they're offering respects to him.
Because he is impersonalist.
So why will he feel superior? Because he's impersonalist and they're all below him.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably he thinks his philosophy is superior.
His philosophy is superior. Okay. So our Acharya has explained that he feels superiority. Okay, someone else wrote something. Let me see. Yeah, thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Yes, the reason why he's feeling superior is because he is renounced and he's seeing that they're all, according to him, they're all, surrounded by Maya, in the families, they're all married, they have kids, relatives, everything. So that's why he's feeling very superior. He feels that he is perfected renunciation and none of them are even close to renouncing anything. Okay, so that's an important point before he enters the palace. So of course, Durvas Muni was a yogi, and he had perfected the path of austerity / purity. His whole life, his main goal was to become extremely pure, extremely austere. Okay. So the lesson here is, the more powerful a position we have, the more we think that our conceptions are right. I just want to pause here for a second. Have any of you experienced this? The more powerful a position we have, you might have seen someone else also having a powerful position. The more we think that, the more they think that their conceptions are right. And they tend to make bigger mistakes when they have power, and they also abuse power to cover those mistakes. Any real world example anyone can think of? Yeah, Megha, you want to share something?
Yes. So I don't know. I don't. But this is just one thing that I'm pointing out. Like a lot of professors at Harvard, for example,
Yeah.
they think they are great, and then,
Yeah.
for example, AI is all over. So they, for example, keep saying, "We don't care." Like, and in my opinion, they are making a big mistake because attitude is not like that in different institutions. They are like denying a lot of funding. I don't know, like they are limiting their own impact. Um, yeah, that's one example that's coming to my mind.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's perfect example. People at Harvard, because they think that they're very powerful because of the position that they have. So two more people wanted. So Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
So again, a real world example, when Satya Nadella became the CEO of Microsoft, and people came to know that he's not from IIT. Everybody was shocked, oh my God, how come a non-IITian became CEO of Microsoft? How is it possible? And things like that. The whole typical mindset is, oh, talent is only in IITs. Something like that. Of course, we are not debating that here. But as you said, position, makes creates a certain thought process. So
Yeah. So Durvas Muni was exactly, and someone else. Oh, Lekha Mataji, sorry.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, I was also going to say about the real world example between wars that happen between countries. There was this quote that goes like, war is a place where people kill one another without knowing or hating each other because of people who know each other. Basically, they're saying governments know each other, so they hate each other. But the wars are actually being fought by unknown people who don't really um hate each other. So it's just because these governments or whomever are causing the war, they have this uh, false idea of power and their eternal existence on this earth and their right over territories.
Yeah, beautiful. I think, yeah, even Megha Mataji just wrote Putin. Putin is a wonderful, wonderful example, actually, because he thinks that what he is doing is right. And because of the power that he holds, he is making big mistakes, and he's abusing power to cover those mistakes also. It's a classic example, classic real world example that's happening right now. Why no one is saying? So Vallabh Chaitanya is saying. Okay. So now we understand that Durvas Muni is in the state where he is feeling very superior to all these local citizens, and he's about to enter the palace of Ambarish Maharaj. Okay. So now what this pastime actually teaches us is that the highest exponents of other paths will fall short of the bhakti path, right? So in one sense, Durvas Muni is the highest exponent of the path of austerity, the path of purity, and he falls short, as we know later how this pastime goes, he falls short of the path of bhakti. Okay. So, and why is that? Because there is no sufficient higher taste. And because of that, there is some lack of inner security. And because of that, there is some lack of inner satisfaction also. So it is said that when you have lack of inner satisfaction, it comes out as outer prestige. So this is what was happening in Durvas Muni's case. So because there was some inner dissatisfaction, it was coming out as outer prestige. Okay. So with this, whatever action some of these people do, and we'll come to several examples in Srimad Bhagavatam also, is that they start justifying their actions as if they are good. Now let's look at all the examples from Srimad Bhagavatam where some curses happened. Okay. So, but before that, there's a paradox of human nature. Those who don't respect themselves are most angry when others don't respect them. So this is a paradox of human nature. If you don't respect yourself, in fact, if you have enough self-respect for yourself, then whether others respect you or not, it won't bother you so much. But in the case of Durvas Muni, you'll see that even a slight provocation caused explosions multiple times. So now, when we are doing something bad, we believe we are doing it for a good cause. Okay. So let's take some examples from Srimad Bhagavatam where some curses happened, like Shringi cursed Parikshit Maharaj, and Durvas Muni cursed Ambarish Maharaj, or he created an attack on Ambarish Maharaj. So in such cases, what's happening is that now Shringi, for example, the way he justified his action or his curse is that he said that now that Krishna has gone, and look at this particular king Parikshit, who's come and put a dead snake over my father, and how adharmic he's become. And that is why I'm going to curse him. So in fact, he had a proper reasoning of why he did something bad. So he was able to rationalize, or as Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says, rationalize equals rational lies, actually. And Durvas Muni also, he was justifying his action completely, because he said that, see how this person who has invited me to take prasad is disrespecting me by eating prasad first before me. And that alone is enough for me to curse him, right? So what is wrong in their thinking? What is wrong in the thinking of Shringi or Durvasa in this case? Or is there anything wrong? Do they have a case?
It's proportionate.
Sorry, Prabhu, your voice was breaking.
Sorry, I said it's disproportionate. I mean, merely putting a snake, does it warrant death? Or merely verbally insulting Duryodhan, does it warrant the disrobing of Draupadi? Or, here in this case, at least, Ambarish Maharaj didn't even disrespect, actually. He took only water. He broke the fast, but he didn't break the fast.
Yeah.
It was in the gray zone. So yeah, it's disproportionate usually. So
Okay. Okay, let's see if there's anyone else to say something. Okay, Lekha Mataji is saying they're proud of their prowess to give the curse. They have superiority complex. Exactly. So which is kind of the mood that Durvas Muni is in right now, as we discussed in the previous slide. So he's very proud of his prowess. He's very proud of his ability. And he also has superiority complex. He believes that he is higher than all these people, and he kind of commands or demands respect. So anyone else? Any other thoughts? Okay, let's move on. So the most dangerous jumping is jumping to conclusions, it is said. So such people who cursed, like Shringi, Durvasa, they were jumping to conclusions. We all do that actually. We all jump to conclusions based on certain things that we see. Any examples from our lives that you can think of? So the reason why I'm asking so many examples is because, as I mentioned on the chat, that many times we are also in this mentality of Durvas Muni. So I just wanted to have this discussion to bring out some of these points where, like how we jump to conclusions also very easily, like how Shringi came to a conclusion very quickly that Parikshit Maharaj is adharmic, like that. Have we also come to some jump to conclusions like that? Any examples?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I share?
Yes, please.
I think so. Here, one example I want to share. With my supervisor. So I wanted to go in a conference, and he said no because in conferences are useless. People just go there to hang out. Real science happens in journals. And then I was very offended by it because I thought I deserve it. But then later I saw his budget. Seems like he just didn't have enough budget. But I think, of course, like he cannot say it, I guess, because of his prestige. But then I understood the situation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like we don't know.
Yeah. So you
what's
jump
the underlying cause.
Yeah. So you jump to a conclusion, and later on you realize that that was not the right justification, or that was not the right conclusion that you should have come to, right? There's some other reason for him to say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I realized that it's not like even if he wants, he can't send me.
Correct.
That's what I realized. Yeah.
Yes. Ritesh Prabhu is saying exactly this part of the talk is all about me, I wonder. Nupur is saying, is it okay to say jumping to conclusions equals being judgmental? Yes, definitely. Jumping to conclusions is, being judgmental for sure. Yes. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu?
So one practical example is when I serve prasadam to someone and somebody comes and takes too many servings, then I jump to a conclusion of what a glutton this person is, how much he eats, things like that. Or when I take too much prasadam and then I get weird looks from the person serving the prasad, then I feel, oh, how inconsiderate this person is, or jumping to conclusions.
So next time we come to such conclusions or jump to conclusions, please remember that we are having some slight Durvas Muni mentality there. Okay. So also one more point is, when we get enraged with someone, it is because we are already dissatisfied or annoyed. Their actions are just triggers. Small provocation leads to a large explosion. Okay. Nothing more to explain there. I think we all have experienced this. Whenever we suddenly explode or suddenly become enraged, then there is something else that is some dissatisfaction is already there in our heart, and someone else does a small action, and that small provocation leads to a large explosion. Okay. So now, Durvas Muni, of course, we know how the pastime goes. He's invited into the palace, and Ambarish Maharaj says that he welcomes him very nicely, gives him all the respects, and then he offers him that you should take lunch prasad with us. At that time, Durvas Muni says that he gladly accepted the request of Maharaj Ambarish, but to perform the regulative ritualistic ceremonies, he went to the river Yamuna. There, he dipped into the river of the auspicious Yamuna and meditated upon the impersonal Brahman. So if Soham Prabhu is here, Soham Prabhu, are you here?
Yes, Prabhu.
So Prabhu, recently you told me, right, the benefits of dipping into the Yamuna and the benefits of dipping into the Ganges. Can you tell me? Tell us, tell everybody.
So yeah, like dipping into river Ganga, it is said you get rid of all of your sins, and dipping into river Yamuna, it is said that you get attraction towards the Supreme Lord.
Yes. So dipping into the river Yamuna, you get attraction towards the Supreme Lord. But in this particular case, Durvas Muni was so fixed on his path, so fixed, so close-minded, so closed, that even though he dipped into the water of the auspicious Yamuna, he meditated not on the Supreme Lord, but on the impersonal Brahman. And because he was so closed, there was no sign of devotion in him at all. Thank you, Soham Prabhu, for sharing that. So now let's see what happens. So now let's look at the other side. So now, so far we have been talking about Durvas Muni. Now Durvas Muni, if I go up, so he engaged all his senses in attaining perfection, right? He wanted to attain perfection, purity, the highest levels of austerity, and so on. Now let's look at, sorry, Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu, go ahead.
So, Prabhu, yeah, this is very interesting what you just said, and I'm thinking that doing such like auspicious or devotional thing, also like dipping in Yamuna, where, for example, where if in Kartik Mass there are so many auspicious things happen, and same like dipping to Yamuna or Ganga. But even though we may do that, but at the same time, because of our inner uh, whatever we, as you were saying, that inner Durvasa Muni or inner shortcomings, we still don't even get closer.
Yeah, it's a good point. We don't get closer immediately, but there are some ultimate benefits to that. So as the pastime ends, Durvas Muni actually becomes very, very close to Ambarish Maharaj after this whole pastime, it is said. And he actually becomes very favorable towards the Lord. And you can argue in one sense that because he dipped into the auspicious Yamuna river, that eventually happened and he went through the purification. So that way also we can see. We don't know ultimately what is going on, but it is said that he was completely close-minded at that time. So yeah, someone else is saying something. Yeah, you want to read this, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu?
Yes, this Narottam Das Thakur writes in E Baro Karuna Karo Gangara Parasha Hoile Paschate Pavana Darshane Pavitra Koro Ei to Margun. So after bathing in the waters of the Ganges many times, sacred Ganges many times, one becomes purified. But just by the sight of you, the fallen souls are purified. This is your great power. So Durvas Muni got purified eventually because he associated with Ambarish Maharaj, although it happened in a very indirect way. I guess the association with Ambarish Maharaj was the crucial part there.
Yeah,
Not so much that.
association with Ambarish Maharaj and the dipping in association with Yamuna Devi also, right? She's also a pure soul.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I said Ganga. Yeah, but yeah. I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, I was thinking association was the main thing
Yeah.
because although he dipped in Yamuna, he was still thinking of impersonal Brahman and things like that. But yeah, definitely the Yamuna Maya aspect is there. Yeah.
Yeah. So now coming back to the question that Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu asked. So it depends on how close-minded we are. If we think that we are doing some ritualistic activities, let's say in the month of Kartik, like offering diyas, for example, and we just offer it without any devotion and we're completely closed, the more closed we are, the less the benefit we'll get in terms of devotional qualities. But the more open we are, the more devotional benefits we'll get. Does that make sense, Prabhu? Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu?
Yes, bro. Yeah.
I mean, that's
Right.
all I can think of. I may be falling short in something, but so let's move on. So now let's look at Ambarish Maharaj. So in the previous slide, I put that, so Durvas Muni engaged all his senses in attaining perfection. Ambarish Maharaj, on the other hand, engaged all his senses in the service of the Lord. And this is a famous verse which comes in Madhya Leela and also comes in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grayam indriye sevan mukehi jivado swayam eva spuratyadha. So let's unpack this verse a little bit. So it is saying, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grayam indriye. So these material senses, so grayam means like it's blunt, you know. So the senses are very blunt. They're actually very useless. But if those senses, sevon mukehi jivadho, if those senses starting with the tongue are used in the service of Krishna, that is the only way to understand Krishna. So whatever temporary senses, temporary body that we have, if we start using, or even our relatives, friends, the loved ones, whoever we have, our children, if we use them or take their help in serving the Lord or engage them in the service of the Lord, that is the only way to understand Krishna. I'll just read the translation. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes because they're blunt. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. So this verse is saying that in this world, everything is temporary. And if you can use all of those temporary things in the service of the Lord, that is the only way that one can gradually come to understand who Krishna is. Okay. And so this is a famous verse as well. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane. So this is the verse which actually says that Ambarish Maharaj was using all of his senses in the service of the Lord. So for example, he was using the eyes to see the deity of Krishna, seeing the temples, his places like Mathura and Vrindavan, his head for bowing down before the Lord, his ears were used always in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna, the tongue tasting Lord's prasad, the smell, smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord, words, as we discussed, vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane, that is the words describing the Lord, sense of touch, touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees, hands in cleaning the Lord's temple, and legs walking to holy places and temples of the Lord. So he exactly opposite of Durvas Muni in one sense. Durvas Muni was using everything for perfecting himself on the path of yoga, whereas here Ambarish Maharaj was using all his senses in the service of the Lord. So now, last time Kameshwar Prabhu asked a question, the difference between Parikshit Maharaj and Ambarish Maharaj. So the Parikshit Maharaj pastime happens in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam with Shringi's curse. Now Shringi, as far as we know, he got no consequences actually for that curse. right? He received no consequences. Where in the case of Durvas Muni, he had to bear some consequences. Now, the pastime's purpose in the first canto is to demonstrate Parikshit Maharaj's qualifications for receiving Bhagavatam. The fact that he did not counter curse Shringi, the fact that he accepted it as the Lord's desire, the Lord's mercy, made him qualified to receive Bhagavatam. So that is the purpose of that pastime. Now we are in the 9th canto. We are very, very close to the 10th canto. So now in this particular time and place in the Bhagavatam, Durvas Muni's curse and the pastime's purpose is to demonstrate the power of devotion and the Lord's love for his devotee. So through these 9 cantos, when we're about to enter, as we approach the 10th canto, it is so important for us to understand the power of devotion and the Lord's love for his devotee. And of course, Durvas Muni had to bear some consequences, and the consequences did come back to him. And in terms of the difference between these pastimes and how this pastime is even more difficult in terms of tolerating and forgiving, there are 3 things. One is, in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, he was cursed that in 7 days he would be killed by the snake bird, Takshak. And in the case of Ambarish Maharaj, it was instant. Like Durvas Muni immediately cursed him, right? And in this, the second thing is, in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, you can say that he made a small mistake. He put a dead snake around Shamik Rishi. And in the case of Ambarish Maharaj, we can easily argue that he made no mistake because he used his intelligence, he consulted the Brahmanas, and he did it purely for the welfare of society. When I say he did it, he drank a little bit of water because the fast was, the muhurta was ending and he had to, do it for the welfare of the society, for his kingdom, for his citizens. And then the last one is actually very difficult. So in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, he did forgive Shringi, but there was no interaction between Parikshit Maharaj and Shringi. So sometimes when somebody does something bad to you, it's easy for you to forgive them and not have any more interactions with them. But in the case of Ambarish Maharaj, he forgave Durvasa, and at the end of this pastime, he had to beg forgiveness from Sudarshan on behalf of Durvasa. So just imagine this, that this is a contemporary example. You're driving and somebody comes and hits your car. Okay. At that time, you're very upset with that person, but you forgive that person. And then the police come there. And then you are begging forgiveness on that person on behalf of the person who hit your car towards the police and say, please forgive him. Isn't that way more difficult? So Ambarish Maharaj's pastime, Ambarish Maharaj is, his particular example is way more difficult than Parikshit Maharaj. So with that, so when good people do bad things, that is when we get hurt a lot. When bad people do bad things, it's okay, it's expected. But when good people do bad things, it starts to hurt you even more. That is why it's said that, let's say you're serving with a devotee in some festival or something like that. And if that devotee says something to you at the end of the service or during the service, that hurts you way more because you're not expecting that devotee to say something bad. So in the Bhagavatam, it's full of such examples actually. In the first canto, we see Shringi was a Brahmin boy. It is never said that he was evil or bad or anything. He was a Brahmin boy. In the 4th canto, we see Dhruva Maharaj. Suruchi was not evil. In fact, she was the one who told him to go to Vishnu. In the 6th canto, Parvati was the one who cursed. Definitely, Parvati was not a bad person. And in the 9th canto now, we see that Durvas Muni attacks Ambarish Maharaj. Definitely, as we have seen, Durvas Muni was a great sage. So when good people do bad things, it is actually very, very difficult. It hurts us even more. So all these things are highlighting some the tolerance level and the forgiveness level of Ambarish Maharaj. Okay, so it's easier to tolerate when bad people do bad things as there's no expectation. So conflicts between two good people is more painful than conflicts between two bad people. And you would have experienced this in your life. When two good people fight, it's actually more painful because you don't know who is right, who is wrong, and so on. But when there's two bad people fighting, it doesn't cause so much pain. So Srila Prabhupada, his last instruction was, your love for me is shown by how you cooperate with one another. Because Srila Prabhupada knew that actually when devotees fight is actually very, very painful to him. So then, of course, we know the pastime, what happens. So the Ekadashi Vrata was done for 1 year. And Durvasa, he feels disrespected, he feels offended. And then he creates this fiery demon. And then at that time, Ambarish Maharaj is not the slightest disturbed, you know. And the Sudarshan Chakra immediately burns this fiery demon, and it starts moving towards Durvas Muni. We know all this, so I'll just go here. So now, how can devotees actually do this? How do they have this kind of tolerance? So this is another famous verse. The translation is, so devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So somebody wants to say something. Okay, hold on. Yes, Nitya, go ahead.
No, just wanted to say there are a few questions in the chat.
Yeah. So what are the questions? So how can one categorize good and bad people? We see good and bad both in the same person. Or what do you mean senses are blunt? Okay, so senses are blunt means they are like, in one sense, it's dead matter. They're blunt. In one sense, it's senses can be used only for material things, right? Typically. So that's why it's ultimately going to die. It's blunt. That's what I meant by senses are blunt. And how do we categorize good and bad people? I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, as you said, in Kali Yuga, both good and bad reside within us. So, but when the bad quality is coming out and we are fighting with someone whose bad qualities are also coming out, then that becomes more painful. Then when you see that someone's good quality and another person's good quality is coming out and they are fighting, then it's actually more painful. Yeah. Anybody else wants to say anything on that? I don't know. That's okay.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Prabhuji, Dorvas Muni is intentionally delayed, or is he completely immersed in the impersonal Brahman meditation and accidentally delay happened?
So a lot of things were orchestrated by the Lord, Prabhuji, in this particular pastime. So first of all, Durvas Muni coming there on the Dwadasi day. And the second thing is Durvas Muni was completely immersed in the impersonal Brahman meditation. Also, this was also orchestrated by the Lord. So all these things were orchestrated by the Lord. Just to glorify his devotee, Ambarish Maharaj, actually. So it is said, even in Prahlad Maharaj's case, right? So it's so interesting that when Hiranyakashipu was ruling the entire universe, so it is said that even Narad Muni and all the demigods would offer obeisances unto him. The only person who did not offer obeisances unto him was Prahlad Maharaj, right? And then later on also, when Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu, everyone was fearful, but only Prahlad Maharaj went and he was able to pacify the Lord. So all this shows that how the devotee is like pushed forward and glorified, and everyone else, it's all orchestrated so that this particular devotee is completely pushed forward and, glorified. So everything happened in this particular pastime also to show the amazing qualities of Ambarish Maharaj. Does that help, Prabhu?
Okay, Prabhu. Got it.
Okay, thank you. So now, Durvas Muni flees from Sudarshan, and then he goes to the Sumeru cave. he goes to Brahma, he goes to Shiva, and ultimately he goes to Vaikuntha and meets Vishnu. Okay, so as I mentioned, even though Durvas Muni, although was in Vaikuntha, he was fully in Kunta. Kunta is anxiety. And the next few verses now express the heart of the Lord. So I'll go a little fast because we have about 10 minutes left. So this verse, very, very famous verse, Aham Bhakta Paradhino. So here the Supreme Personality of Lord is saying that I'm completely under the control of my devotees and I am not at all independent. I'm not at all independent. He's saying that you went to Brahma, you went to Shiva, and they said that they are not independent, but I am also not independent because I am also dependent on my devotee. Because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires, I sit only within the cores of their heart. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. Bhakther Bhaktha Janapriyaha. Even the devotees of my devotees are very dear to me. I really like this last line. So all that we have to do is just be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of devotees. And that's it. And that is one way to please the Lord, to become very dear to the Lord. So the next verse also is very beautiful. Here the Lord is saying that, O best of the Brahmanas, without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I do not desire to enjoy my transcendental bliss and my supreme opulences. So the Lord is saying that I don't even want to enjoy my bliss and opulences without my devotees. So that is also a very sweet verse. And then the next verse, since pure devotees give up their homes, wives, children, relatives, riches, and even their lives simply to serve me without any desire for material improvement in this life or in the next, how can I give up such devotees at any time? So here a question might come, and Durvas Muni actually questions this to the Lord, that I have given up everything, but look at your Ambarish Maharaj. He has a home, wife, children, relatives, riches, everything. So why are you favoring him? What is the answer? Isn't that...
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Prabhuji?
So the question is, so since pure devotees, the verse says, since this is the Lord saying, the pure devotees give up their homes, wives, children, relatives, riches, and even their lives simply to serve me without any desire for material improvement in this life or in the next. How can I give up such devotees at any time? So now Durvas Muni can say that Ambarish Maharaj has all these things. He has home, he has a palace, he has wives, he has children, relatives, everything. So how do we understand this? Nupur is saying because he's using everything in the Lord's service and no attachment. Okay.
His attachment is regulated or very healthy. He doesn't have like ownership of them. He understands them as a responsibility and gift given by Krishna. Maybe I'm just guessing. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So he's using everything that has been given to him back in the service of the Lord. He's taking his family members, everything for yatras, and so that's one way of looking at it. He's not seeing them as objects of his own enjoyment. Yes. He's not seeing them in a very selfish way. And he's using each and every one of them in the service of the Lord. Yes. Okay. So now the next verse also is very nice. The pure devotee. So this is a very famous verse. Sadhavo hridayam mayam, sadhunam hridayam tvaham. So here the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. And I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. Isn't this such a beautiful verse? I'll read this again. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. So in the Ebaro Karuna Koro that Jagannath Gopal Prabhu just recited one verse, there is two other beautiful verses. Haristane aparade tare harina tomastane aparade nahi paritran तुम्हारा हृदय सदा गोविंदा विश्राम गोविंदा को है ना मोरा वैष्णवा परा. So this is glorifying the Vaishnavas, which is very similar verse actually. Tumara hridaye sada Govinda Vishram. This is saying that in the heart, Tumara Hridaya means in your heart, Sada, always, Govinda is taking rest, Govinda Vishram. Govinda Kohena Mora, Vaishnava Pran. So the Lord is saying that the Vaishnavas are my life and soul. And then the previous verse, Haristane Aparade, Tare Harinam. If you make an offense towards the Supreme Lord, then the atonement is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Tomastane aparade nahi paritran. So if you commit an offense towards a Vaishnava, as we see in this particular pastime, there is no atonement at all. The only atonement is to go back and beg forgiveness from that Vaishnava. So and then the next bhajan, Manmanase tamasarashi gore kara grihe dukkamaye nibaddha labhasvahe chora hare chiraya swachorya dosho chitameva dandam. This is Bilva Mangal Thakur from Chaurashtakam saying this very sweet, one of my favorite verses. O stealer of my everything, O thief. He's addressing the Lord here actually. O stealer of my everything, O thief. Today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance. And there for a very long time you will remain, receiving appropriate punishment for your crimes of thievery. So this verse has so many things in one sense, there is, he's kind of using humility on one hand because he's saying terrible darkness of my ignorance. And then he's saying that he's capturing the Lord very beautiful and receiving appropriate punishment, he says, for your crimes of thievery. So it's a very personal, intimate relationship with the Lord as well. So then, so now this is the conversation. Of course, this is not there in Bhagavatam, but I was reading other Acharya commentaries. The conversation that happens between Durvas Muni and the Lord. So the Lord is saying, my devotees have given up everything. What have you given up, Durvasa? And then Durvas Muni says, I don't have anything to give up. I'm a Brahmana and a sannyasi. But your Ambarish has everything. He has wife, he has palace, he has children, he has relatives, etc. Right? So now what would the Lord say? The Lord says, my devotee was ready to give up his life and did not move an inch, but you were running all over the universe to protect your body. Have you given up your attachment to body? And then Durvas Muni says, the Lord says, renunciation, and this nobody mentioned, renunciation is not just external, renunciation is actually very much internal. And then Durvas Muni says, okay, he invited me as a guest and ate before me. Is that not an offense? Is respecting a Brahmana a greater dharma, or breaking the fast a greater dharma? Now the Lord reveals the secret behind this pastime. The Lord says, it was me who inspired Ambarish to have water, as accepting water is neither breaking nor not breaking the fast. He respected you by not breaking the fast, and he respected the Ekadashi Vrata by breaking the fast. So in one sense, he did not do anything wrong. So this is the sweet exchange that happens between the Lord and Durvas Muni. And then finally, in the 70th verse, the Lord says, for a Brahmana, austerity and learning are certainly auspicious. But when acquired by a person who is not gentle, such austerity and learning are most dangerous. I'll repeat. For a Brahmana, austerity and learning are certainly auspicious. But when acquired by a person who is not gentle, in other words, if it is not grounded in humility, such austerity and learning are actually most dangerous. It can go completely against you. So what we learn from this pastime is that the path of renunciation doesn't even come close to the path of devotion, actually. So more than comparing Ambarish Maharaj and Durvas Muni, this pastime actually highlights the paths that both of them followed. So in one sense, we can say renunciation is greater than devotion, Kshatriya is greater than Brahmana, and Grihastha is greater than Sannyasi. But is this true in all circumstances? No, this is not true in all circumstances. But what is true is that a bhakta is very much greater than a mystic yogi or a yogi who's just focused on attaining perfection. Okay, so now in Bhagavatam 10th canto, I think it's the 43rd chapter, there's a very interesting verse that comes up. It is said that there's a huge ocean of lust. Okay, there's a huge ocean of lust. Imagine this to be a huge ocean of lust. If most of the people will fall into this ocean. Their focus is to overcome lust, but while doing so, they'll fall into this ocean. Okay, but if someone like Durvas Muni is able to, with a lot of difficulty, are able to cross this ocean of lust, it is said that there is a small puddle of anger outside of this big ocean of lust where they end up falling. So the lesson here is that with our own efforts, we can never conquer lust and anger, but we have to take shelter of Krishna. If we don't take shelter of Krishna, some anartha will catch us. Some anartha, whether it's lust, anger, greed, envy, whatever it is, some anger will catch us. But the only way for no anarthas to catch us is to take shelter of Krishna. And then this is my last slide. So now a devotee, you can, when we look at a devotee, you can see that there are two manifestations. One is you can say that they're very pure, or you can say that they're grounded in humility, right? So, but we see that devotion manifested in humility is way higher than devotion manifested in purity, austerity, knowledge, and so on. Okay, so that is another thing that this pastime is showing us. I hope this is clear. So humility is way higher than purity. Many times, even in our lives, sometimes we tend to go towards purity and ignore humility. So always please remember that humility is way higher than purity. Now, what is the problem? So you might say that, okay, I want to be pure. I'm obsessed with purity. Now, there are two problems with this. One is, as we see in the case of Durvas Muni, he has the superiority complex. If you're obsessed with purity, you will have the superiority complex. And what is the other thing? The other thing is you will also have insecurity. So these are two side effects that come for someone who's obsessed with purity. So please pay attention to this one small point here. So if one is obsessed with purity, they will have a superiority complex where they'll put others down. And they will also have insecurity because the other extreme is, so one of these two things they can say, I am so great, that is superiority. But here's the other thing, which many people don't realize, is that I am so fallen. I am so fallen because they're judging bhakti solely by the capacity to give up sense gratification. If they're not able to give up sense gratification, then I'm so fallen, I'm so fallen, I'm so fallen. So this is the problem with being obsessed with purity. Okay. So now let's look at some of the side effects of this. So if supposing someone is obsessed with purity, and because of which they have the superiority complex, then they start committing offense. How? Because they start putting others down. They start thinking that, oh, look, I'm doing this. I'm much more superior to you. So I'm putting others down. And for insecurity, what can happen is you start getting discouraged. Oh, I'm not able to do that. I mean, I'm not able to control my senses. I'm not able to control my lust. So you just completely forget about the ultimate goal and you get discouraged and you leave this path. So both are dangerous. Both are dangerous. So I am so great is also dangerous. I am a fallen soul. The focus goes more on the fallen part. And you completely ignore the soul. The soul is actually very, very dear to Krishna. The soul is a part of Krishna. And so each one of us are special, but that completely goes under the rug and you just start focusing on the fallen part. So this is the problem with purity, with obsession with purity. And the last one in the Shikshashtakam, the humility comes before purity actually. Trinadapi Sunichena verse comes before Nadanam Najanam verse. So if the purity is higher, then instead of looking up towards Krishna, we will look down upon others. If purity is our higher goal, then instead of looking up towards Krishna, we'll just start looking down upon others, as we see in the case of Durvas Muni. He was looking down upon others instead of looking up towards Krishna. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you, dear devotees, for attending. And yeah, it's perfect. 3 minutes over. But if anybody wants to share anything, any reflections or thoughts, you can share. Otherwise, you can leave.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Lekha Mataji.
Prabhu, thank you so much. Actually, like a lot of very, very relevant practical life examples. Thank you so much. And I think you hit the nail hard by especially talking about securities that I go through. And I think when I discuss with others, I know that all of us, the first statement we say are okay, yeah, I'm so fallen, and I really see that it's the most unproductive quality for devotional practice. So thank you for affirming that, and this is a great reminder. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I just
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one more question. It might not be actually related to this, so it's completely okay if we have to discuss it on another day. But there's also a lot of fear mongering going around. So sometimes there are these key situations where, as a devotee, if there is a conflict between another devotee, and like you pointed out, it ends up really, really bad. So then sometimes we have to either stand up or communicate that it was not okay, or this is how I felt. How do we resolve it? That would be my usual approach. But then there is always this fear mongering about Vaishnava Aparad, even this thought of okay, let me confront this devotee or let me put out what I feel. If that thought always gets overwritten by fear mongering that it's going to be a Vaishnava. How do we handle that? And it's completely okay if we have to discuss another day. I just want to throw it out.
No. This is a great question, Lekha. So this keeps coming up. So in the fear of Vaishnava Aparad, actually we curb ourselves so much that we are not able to even communicate what we want to communicate. So we have to understand that yes, there is Vaishnava Aparad, but there is also communication, and communicating rightly is equally important. Very, very important. So I've seen many cases, and even Chaitanya Charan Prabhu and me have discussed this many times, that Vaishnava Aparad is overemphasized in our movement. And because of that, people are very, very scared and very fearful, especially when they're dealing with senior devotees. And because of that, they are forced to surrender, not lovingly, but in fear. And that is very, very unhealthy. And because of that, many people have left our movement also. So we have to be very careful and not take Vaishnava Aparad as a very fearful thing, or you'll get completely clobbered or things like that. But consult with other senior devotees who are like-minded and take their guidance and communicate across in a right way. And especially when it's going into that unhealthy area where you are feeling fearful, it's something where you have to communicate. You have to communicate. So that's my answer. If anybody else wants to say something, you can. Yeah, Nandini, sorry, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. So I think consulting with senior Vaishnavas whom we know is the most crucial point here,
Yes.
because I guess it's not always that we have to put forth our point, but at the same time, it's not always that we have to suppress it. In some cases, we might have to take a back seat and just go ahead. Radhanath Maharaj once said that humility is not just saying, "Oh, I'm a fallen soul, you're so great, Prabhu." Humility in practice actually means that we match our wavelength with the wavelength of that devotee and cooperate like that. So the Maharaj has said that, but does that now mean that I'll not put forth my point at all? No, that definitely doesn't mean like that. As Prabhuji mentioned, when it comes to a point where it starts affecting our consciousness and our bhakti, things have to be done, what they have to be done, the way they have to be done. But in any case, the intelligence to differentiate between these two kinds of situation may not be there with us because we are too occupied with the situation itself. So it's always best to just consult with some confidant that we have in spiritual life who can guide us.
Thank you so much, Jagannath Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu and Kumar Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Very nicely you summarized everything. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other reflections? Okay.
Just one question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maybe yeah, we don't have to spend too much time on it. What is purity, right? This Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu and I have also discussed, but our discussion remained incomplete in the past. Like we were trying to see what is purity. Like it seems from the discussion today that humility is actually the highest form of purity, because
Yeah.
purity could be at multiple levels. No lust is just one aspect of purity, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
ultimately, on the highest platform, purity means humility. Rather, humility means purity. Would that be
Yeah.
a right thing to say?
Yes, yes, definitely on the highest platform. Yeah, humility is the highest form of purity, which means humility is higher than purity if you kind of differentiate the two. But many times in the contemporary world, if you ask people, I want to be pure, I want to be pure means what they generally mean is, I want to be free from lust. I want to be free from these anarthas. And that's the focus. I just want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this. But if it is not grounded in humility, they will eventually fail. It's just a matter of time, actually, because Maya will overpower you. So,
Makes sense.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, all dear devotees. Please forgive me if I said anything wrong, or if I hurt anybody's feelings. I just shared whatever I heard from other devotees. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.